Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is August 25th, 2020, 12:30 p.m. We're looking at the magnetopause position, solar wind velocity, and magnetic field lines. This view here is looking down at the North Pole, Earth, light side, dark side, geosynchronous orbit, Bowshock. We said the view is looking down at the North Pole. Solar wind velocity tool is the same, looking down at the North Pole. Magnetic field lines is an equatorial view. We're looking from the side. North is up here, south here, and all of these the sun is over to the right, so we read them right to left. We got the scales, we got the satellites. The moon doesn't show in these models. Anyways, what we got here on the field lines is we've got a lot of things that should not be here. All these IMF here in this signature should not be here. Closed field lines should not be happening. Here we are pushing against it as well. These field lines here should not be here. This is an overlaying field. This is what I think is Ra's magnetic signature, or the blue Kachina that's basically behind us. Earth is pushing against. We got some front side IMF activity as well. Not much over here. Like sometimes we'll see it pop way out and get close in, but not today. Here we got Earth pushing again. Polar cap lines are wrapping all the way around and going off to the north. Pole cap line wrapping around the front through the Bowshock and going out the south side from the north. There we got a little IMF there again. Now, let's just go over a quick what should not be here. Let's go to starting out. This is a blue IMF. This should not be here because that blue IMF means it's not connected to Earth, so shouldn't be there. These IMF lines should be here. They're depicting the other magnets in our solar system connected to the sun. This one's denoting the sun here. It should be straight through. These should all be straight up and down, but they're not. But like I said, these should be here normally. Alright, so here we go. We've got Earth pushing as closed field lines. We've gone over this a bunch of times. Eric has too. Shouldn't be there. This IMF here should not be there unless there is another magnet in the area. Now these are the where I think is actual Ra's magnetic field, because I mean, we see the IMF back here, but that's just not big enough. The scale is in RE, which you can calculate down to miles, and it's just not. If you're thinking in the scale of a sun versus, for example, our sun and Earth, Earth is a speck compared to the size of the sun, so the magnetic field has got to be huge. So this is where I think we're seeing parts of the field from one of our other suns. Okay, we got pole cap lines wrapping all the way around. So if we have a sun that's pushing right to left through here, how could these magnetic field lines, and that's all they are. Polar cap lines is just a magnetic field line. They just color code them to signify their meanings. Why would it be going all the way around against the wind and pop it up north, unless there was a problem or another magnet there? So these instruments, these satellites in geosync orbit inside the Bowshock, are telling us that there are other planetary bodies around us. Some are inside lunar orbit, others are farther away. Some are out front, some are out back. This is suggesting that there's some up here. Now, a lot of you have heard of ecliptic plane. Well, the ecliptic plane is basically running through here. It does vary. I mean, it's an imaginary line, but it's it's something that's where the sun from the wind from the sun is coming from. It travels along the ecliptic plane through from the sun's equator. And that spans the full width of the sun's solar wind capability. That's, maybe billions of miles wide. All our planets, moons, they are generally some comets may also follow that same ecliptic plane, others do not. So they don't really apply to that. But planets, moons, suns, they all have their the sun basically is what justifies the ecliptic plane, and every planetary body that's connected to that sun is on that ecliptic plane. Now, like I said, comets and asteroids, they come in and out of that magnetic field, so therefore they don't follow that ecliptic plane. Only objects magnetically connected to a sun follow the plane. Okay, we're going to progress forward. Now all this mess here is forming here in the middle. Let's get right there. Now we've got IMF pointing to this energy field because this is energy flow. Energy flow creates a magnetic field, and it's just a law, energy law. It can't change that. Now this is Earth pushing against, and then these planetary bodies in here are again pushing against Earth as well. So it's both pushing. And then we have some electric connection, or electric connection. That's why we're seeing polar cap lines and mixed in this mess as well. As you can see, it increases. So this is highly suggestive that there is a planet here, or a moon, or called another magnet. It's reacting. And that is also, this field is inside lunar orbit, because lunar orbit is about -60 here. This is not the moon, because the moon is over here on the front side right now, because we are less than half moon. So it's probably about right in here right now. When the moon gets here, we'll be seeing half moon, and then when the moon is here, 3/4 moon is here, it's full. 3/4, half crescent, or quarter crescent, then new moon. That's how it works. The moon is orbiting here. Moving forward. Now, these lines, these polar cap lines, they are reacting to an energy barrier, which is this IMF. We've seen that it doesn't show very well today because Earth has been doing a lot of pushing. I'm going to see there, this IMF signature. So this is a barrier. Energy flows until it hits an energy barrier, an energy or a physical barrier. Barrier. So you'll notice that these closed field lines and polar cap lines, they'll all react to that barrier. It's like wind going over your car. Your car is the physical barrier. Okay, now we've got strong polar cap roping. None of this should be here. This should not be here. This should not be here. The red closed field line should not be here. All these IMF up front should not be here. This should be pretty straightforward. 9 lines up and down plus the sun, and all the polar cap lines should just be fairly normal. Obviously we're going to have some ripples, but in this case we have several issues. None of this would be here unless there was not other magnets around. So clearly we are not alone. And I'm not talking about aliens. Alright, so I'm just going to let this play real quick since we're at the end. You can see this progress over 5 hours. IMF in the back, Earth pushing against. We don't have nice flowing hair back like you expect if you put, you face the wind and your hair would blow back if you've got long hair. We're not seeing that. We're seeing confusion. massively, just on a massive scale. And we used to see things like this occasionally, maybe once a day would do. Well, it'd start out be, maybe once a month, or then once a week, and then multiple times a week, and then multiple times a day. And now it's just all day long, hours and out, going on hours at a time instead of a real quick. We aren't seeing the big blast pushes like we used to see 6 months ago, and they're becoming more rare now. It's not that things are letting up, is that the compression from this magnetic chain. Now again, since these other planets and moons of suns have come in to our solar system, they are also on that same ecliptic plane. So that's why we're seeing things along the ecliptic plane here. So, like I said, this is going to increase. Instead of hours, it's just going to be all day, and then eventually this magnetic chain is going to not break but shift. Like when you take two magnets of the same polarity poles, what happens when you try to push them together? Eventually they push out. So that's what's going to happen. Eventually, when the pressure just increases, like we're seeing, those are going to eventually something's going to shift. And it's going to be pretty big and noticeable. So, alright, let's get on to the other signets. Solar wind. Now again, the sun is to the right to left. As you can see, these arrows should be all pointing to the left, but they aren't. Like I explained on the other model here, we have tornadic activity, arrows confusion, which is polarity changes. Say a polarity, positive polarity here to the left, negative polarity towards the right. The energy, most of the energy goes around the Bowshock. Like all the wind is, this is an energy barrier. That's what the Bowshock is. And the wind goes around it. Some does penetrate, but we know we have other magnets in here, and they are pushing back against Earth. That's why we're seeing polarity back against the sun. None of these arrows pointing the opposite direction should be there, unless there isn't something there. And you got it. Just gonna let it play. As you can see, we have it's pretty telling here. This is not going to go away. It's only going to increase. Magnetopause update. Bowshock, and here we have sometimes even up to 3 Bowshocks on the front, and even one in the back. And I've explained in other videos, we have seen up to 4 Bowshocks. I'm waiting for the one in the back to form so I can show you. Close enough. Now this wouldn't be here unless something wasn't pushing in and forming this. But it's also got to deal with this barrier here. I've gone over Bowshocks. Again, this should not be here. It should just be one. Though we got the pressure showing. Let's just move it by hand. Earlier, another photo I had captured a frame where you could see energy wrapping around this secondary Bowshock in double helix formation, like DNA and the DNA ladder, but it's double helix is not a ladder. It's just the way energy flows. Birkeland currents, Ezekiel's wheel is another way of looking at it. As you can see here, we have the satellites in geosync orbit. This is the black area is an area that's ignored by the satellites, sun side of Earth, dark side of Earth, nighttime. So this is your quick little iSWA update showing you what should be there and what not. Here in this case, we should not be seeing this other Bowshock in the back. We shouldn't see these secondary Bowshocks in the front. So think about that and realize that something has to be there for these to happen. This isn't just an anomaly or whatever excuse these trolls could come up with, or people that are just can't grasp the fact that something is going on. And we live in a 3-sun system. You need to check it out. That's what all these distraction stories and they've got everyone looking in the wrong places and this and that. Well, that's the big secret. We live in a 3-sun system. All right, have a good day.